To hear another being, you have to put your own thoughts aside. You have to be really attentive. Be with them. Listen. Open to presence. Center. Ground. Feel your connection to the earth. These are the techniques you use. They're pretty standard techniques, but connecting to the earth and connect to the animal through the earth, you'll feel your commonality as beings.
Hello, You-est You family, wherever you are listening near and far. I'm so excited about this conversation that you're about to hear between myself and Penelope Smith. Penelope, I'm so grateful to have you here. You, as an expert animal communicator, telepathic, you've been doing this for years, and an author of books like Animal Talk and When Animals Speak, and just really, what I love about you is your ability to help anybody tune into these gifts, and just the way you've been using this to connect with not just animals, but also souls on the other side, as well as those that are neurodivergent and nonverbal as well. So glad to have you here. Thank you for being here again with me. As you know, we spoke before and it didn't record, so we are back and ready to bless and glow the minds of everybody.
Great. I'm excited.
So I think a good place to start, for those who don't know about you or your work, you have been doing this for many, many years. Can you share, did you connect and communicate with animals when you were little? When did you start to realize that this was a gift that you had, and that maybe not everyone was doing this, at least in the way you do?
Well, really all my life, I have no other recollection of not knowing this. I was very aware when I came in of my mission in life. I was aware that I was supposed to be in the family I was in. It was a trial, definitely a trial, and a way to get very strong in this world, and also to help a lot of people by turning that abuse into love. And I just always knew that everybody was a fellow being. It didn't matter what kind of costume they had. When I looked at a snake or I looked at a dog or a cat, they were just my friends. I really didn't differentiate. When I got the socialization that everybody gets, that they're lower or they're things, I couldn't credit that. I said, well, my experience is, of course, I couldn't tell people about this, but my experience was that they can communicate. They are aware, just as aware of themselves as we are, and that it's very rich to communicate with them, and it's fun and it's sweet. And I'm not giving this up for any human ideas. So I continued, but I had to keep it to myself because I was made fun of. So my mother continually hammered me with that. I had a vivid imagination. So I learned we'll keep this all to myself. And then kids at school, I would talk about communicating with the fairies in the garden. And boy, that didn't go over big because, of course, they were already socialized that all this is not to ever be talked about and is not real. So I learned, no animals, no fairies, no beings on the other side that you can communicate with. I just said, fine, okay. And I really felt quite different. People around me were not aware of themselves as spiritual beings. And, it was a time where there was not a lot of awakening happening. And so I really didn't have human friends, and I didn't have the aspirations they had for, a life in the suburbs and kids and a 2-car and a garage and all that kind of stuff. I said, that's not for me. I'm here to save the world. And, as a kid, I thought of it, well, I'll just let them know. I'll just let them know who they are. And then they won't hurt like they do now, because I saw that people were really hurting from not recognizing themselves as spirits. So they were doing things like my parents did, drink a lot of alcohol to try to obliterate the fact that you're suffering so much from separation from yourself. And, it was definitely very difficult, but I had a lot of helpers, because I kept my ability. I would always communicate to animals. I'd communicate whether it was squirrels or snakes or birds or whoever it was. They were all my friends. And then I also had Jesus, Mary, saints, angels, everybody else on the other side to communicate with. And I knew the trees were also alive and all the plants were also alive. So I would communicate with them and I would hug them and, and so it was all very natural to me. And when I was young, I would read the storybooks and I go, now the storybooks have it right. You go into the woods and you communicate to the plants, and there are beings who are behind the plants and you communicate to them. And I thought, well, I'm going to bring this magic to people. I'm going to bring what the storybooks say is true, because what people say is true is very disconnected, is very hurtful. Not that there weren't a lot of good things in the world too, but there was so much misery. And I just went, well, when I grow up, I'm going to help people to remember. And I'm going to stay true to my mission, even though it's very hard for me now, as a kid. I just went, once I'm out of here, I'm going to just go straight forward and take all that I learned from my experience and go forward. So I did, I didn't think about animal communication. I thought about helping people. So I gravitated toward psychology and sociology. And then when I went to university, I just saw these things didn't lead where I wanted to go. They led to writing articles and getting published and statistics, lots of statistics. And I just went, I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in people and helping people. So I became a counselor for people, a spiritual counselor focused on people's path in life, spiritual path. So by that time, it was the 70s. So more people were waking up, 60s, 70s. People were waking up and reaching for yoga and meditation. So I came on the scene and I just went, I like doing the counseling for people. I see that it helps them release from their traumas, get more aware. But then I decided one day, I had a cat who someone had left town and left the cat with me. I lived in an apartment, shared apartments with other people from our counseling center. And the cat really was afraid of everybody except me. So we were friends, but she was, just pretty much stayed away from all my roommates. And then she came in one day all bloody from cats beating her up. And I decided I would work with her because I went, she's suffering. I try to heal her the standard ways with, working with her body. And I went, she's suffering and she's so afraid of everything. I'm going to work with her as I would work with people. I'm going to use the same techniques, the same counseling approaches that I do with people. So I sat her down, or she just sat down, and I did a counseling session with her, and it was absolutely remarkable. She went so fast, and she immediately started going through all her experiences of trauma with people, with animals, cats in particular, and releasing tons of energy. And I just went, wow, this is amazing. And then after about 20 minutes, half an hour, she went to sleep, and I felt we were all at a good point to end because she had pretty much relaxed so much and released so much. I went, well, we'll see what happens. Well, the next morning when we woke up, it was like a different cat. Her wound, she no longer tried to scratch it open. The wound was already scabbing over, which she was keeping it open. She was scratching it open. And she let it heal, and her hair, which had been falling out, within a week, it was all grown back. It was like this miracle. But the most miraculous thing, and my roommate said to me, is this a different cat? Did you slip in a different cat? Because she was going up to people, purring, jumping into their laps. And everybody went, that's not Peaches. Her name was Peaches. That's not Peaches. I said, well, it is. And I told them what I did. Well, they were counselors also, so they know. And they said, wow, that is like amazing. I said, yeah, it really is. It's so much faster than with people. And I said, I got to try this out on more animals and see how it works. So it was the start of me becoming an animal communication counselor, doing something besides telepathically communicating, which I had done all my life, but doing something with it. And I continued counseling people. I had a lot of experience in counseling people. And then I started working with animals and just communicating with them, answering people's questions. And then when counseling was necessary, I did counseling. And the same things happened over and over again. So I decided, well, I think I'm going to just do this more. It's so much fun. And so over the years of practicing, I finally charged because I felt like I really, charged for my services because I felt like I really have to feel that it's a workable thing. Like I do with the counseling with people, we see the results. I want to know that with a number of animals, not just with one or two, but I want to know that. So it was like my own apprenticeship, So it was incredible and it just took off. I had other professions going. I was teaching body movement and dance. I was doing the spiritual counseling. I was working in a holistic health center, doing the counseling as well as nutritional work and body balancing. And I just went, you know what? This is it. And gradually I eased out of my other professions and focused on this. It just took over, and then people were calling me and I started. Well, I was traveling around a lot. I lived in Los Angeles at the time, and I was traveling around a lot doing in-person consultations. And then I started to do phone consultations. And then we got people from all over the world, eventually calling. So it was just wonderful. And we kind of jump-started the whole movement. I got on a lot of programs. There were a few other people who were animal communicators. They were all in the LA area. There was really no one else that was known. But I focused on education. That was my thing. I said, we got to wake people up. We got to get them empowered. They got to wake up to this ability, not just think that it belongs to a few people, but that it's theirs. And so I got on a lot of radio and TV at a time and newspaper articles and magazines at a time when they were so skeptical, not just skeptical, they were just interested in mocking you. So I said, okay, fine. It's definitely energetically difficult, but I reached a lot of people, even with the hosts of the radio programs, et cetera, mocking you and TV or their editors changing it around, like in articles, they would change the slant of it to make it look like it was really funny. So many people came forward and they got it. Behind all the other stuff, they got it. They came forward and they said, I want to have you talk to my animal, or, can I learn how to do this? So then the people wanted me to write a book. So I wrote a book and away we went. It just carried on from there. So that's kind of where I come from in it all, that it's a spiritual journey and it's a spiritual path. And it's a way of enlightening people, because that's what turned me on to it so much. I went, wow, this is so much. People who call me about their animals, they're so in love with their animals. They listen to everything you say about their animals, and they wake up. So when people woke up to the fact that their animals were spiritual beings, guess what else they woke up to? The fact that they're spiritual beings. When they woke up to that their animal friends create their life and make decisions, they woke up to that in themselves. So I went, you know what? This is the way to go. Enlighten people through their hearts, their love of animals. And of course, I totally loved animals. So it was real easy for me to make that shift. I mean, I loved counseling people too. I really found that very nutritious, it was rich to see people change. But I went, no, this is the way we're going to do it, because we're going to reach a lot more people and in a different way. And we need to wake up people to the fact that all beings are conscious. You see, now it's 50 years later, and so many people are conscious, so much more conscious of our connection, of their own spirituality, of their own, of animals, plants, the earth. Of course, the indigenous spirituality is reawakening, has been reawakening since the 60s, 70s, and is now really coming forward. That's the truth, not this materialism that people have fallen into that separates them from their own love as a spirit for other spiritual beings. So I'm going on and on. So
Wonderful. It's so cool to hear the love you've had since you were little. And you mentioned something, Penelope, turning the challenges, the abuse,
Yeah.
what you dealt with in your life, and really connecting fully in, heart-centered with this knowing, being able to connect with animals. I would love to go back for a minute. We're definitely going to get into some teaching and practices, because I already can hear others, our listeners saying, "Okay, tell me what to do," since I know you believe we all have the ability. When you talk about, okay, you were talking to Peaches, she's sitting there with you, and you had this 20-minute, dialogue, or you're talking to the deer in the woods. Can you actually break down what that means for you? So is that you're sharing mental pictures? You're actually hearing a voice? Are you getting images of you together?
Yeah.
What does that look
So
like for you?
telepathy involves all the senses. So just look at your physical senses, and telepathy is a finer tuned of your physical senses. So I call them extended senses or internal senses. So you can see, you can have images, you can hear, you can get thoughts, you can get knowing, where you just know what the animal's intention is. You just know what's going on with them. You can get smells, you can get what they're tasting. And as you open to this, people usually start with one sense that's more predominant. Some people get images really well. And so they call that clairvoyance, and they get the images really well. And other people hear really well, and they get the thoughts more like a voice, or they translate it into words. So they're hearing internally what the animal is saying. And other people feel. It's more, they feel the emotions, or they feel kinesthetically. They feel the sensations in their body. All these things are available. And what I teach people is open them all. Start with what you're good at. But really, the best thing that you can do is unite with the animal and feel exactly what they're feeling. So when I unite with my tortoise and I'm with her, I can feel how when she's chomping on her flowers, what it tastes like for her. I can smell what it smells like for her. I can hear the crunching, but from the inside.
So cool.
So
Yeah.
it's like it's a union. And that's something that as people get better at this, that they naturally do. The really good animal communicators can feel another being with all the senses. So you don't get tripped up in your own thoughts. See, people who are concentrated in their minds get tripped up in their own thoughts and go in circles. Oh, the animal must be saying this. Well, that's not coming from them. That's coming from you. That's your own thoughts. So you need to learn to get your own thoughts out of the way. Doesn't mean you completely quiet your mind and you're still, the perfect meditator or whatever people think that is. But you just put it aside. You start to discriminate between your own thoughts and what you're getting from the animals. And the animals are different beings. They have a different experience. They have different bodies. At the same time, we do have a lot in common. All beings have a lot in common. Whether you're a human, whether you're an elephant, whether you're a microbe, we share commonality of energy experience in the physical universe. So we do have a lot in common, but humans get so thinky that they get separated. They get lost and they can't really hear another being. To hear another being, you have to put your own thoughts aside. You have to be really attentive. And so what kind of attention is it? It's like this. You're present. I mean, I normally close my eyes because with humans, sight, it goes right into the mind. It keys into the mind. So as soon as you see images, even judgments, people look and they start to think about it. They go, oh, well, she's wearing makeup today and yesterday she didn't. I mean, totally irrelevant things, but that's the mind. So if you just close your eyes and you just be there, you'll get the internal sensing, which is not in the middle of the thinky stuff and the judgments. So you experience the animal. People experience their love for their animals, but they still keep themselves distant. They look at the animal and go, oh, I don't understand them. Well, the reason you don't understand them is you're lost in your own mind. If you be with them, listen, open to presence, center, ground, feel your connection to the earth. These are the techniques you use. They're pretty standard techniques, but connecting to the earth and connect to the animal through the earth, you feel your commonality as beings. And then you feel the difference. You start to experience their way of living, which is different than your way of living. So when you ask them a question like, what did you do today? Or how are you doing today? You get their experience, their images, their feelings. You have to feel into it. It's not something that you're thinking about, but I will tell you the biggest trap that people get into is their own minds. And the other trap, which is part of their own minds, is the self-doubt. They've been conditioned culturally, socially, to doubt intuition, to doubt themselves, to go, oh no, that couldn't exist. Oh no, I couldn't really be getting that. No, that isn't real. That isn't normal. Oh, it's scary. Oh, it's all this stuff. So you put all that aside and you realize, wow, the most beautiful thing in the world is heart and soul connection with another being. What are the greatest things we experience in life? When it comes down to it, everybody will pretty much agree. They remember the love. They remember the kindness. They remember the sweet connection. All these things are the same. The kindness, the respect, the love, the connection. Okay, so what do we have here? When if you're truly communicating with animals, your mind and judgments and all your preconceptions, they're irrelevant. They're the things you don't want to be involved in. You want to sit here in the holiness of your connection with this other being, whether it's your dog or cat or horse or tortoise or chicken or the spider in your bathroom. And you start out with realizing that there's a fellow being there. And you connect to the earth and you feel them. And you drop your own preconceptions even about yourself and who you are. You just become another fellow being with a heart and soul, just as that spider is. And you connect with them and you feel them. See, your senses, then your heart, soul, space is open and you feel them. How can you not get their feelings? Your telepathy is about feeling. Just look at the word. Tele, distance, pathy is feeling. So it's feeling across the distance, but actually it makes for no distance. Telepathy is not dependent on time and space. So I can communicate to somebody across the world. Makes no difference. It's not dependent on the distance. And so there we are with our spider in the bathroom or our dog in the kitchen or the squirrel in the tree. And instead of going into this thinking about what they're thinking or thinking about what they want to communicate with you, you sit quietly and you just feel them. You tell them, I'd like to communicate with you. I'd like to be with you. I want to learn from you. You respect them as a fellow being. And then you open and you allow them to teach you. And suddenly you start to feel the world in a different way. You feel your little paws holding on to things, grabbing little leaves or acorns. You feel how your hearing is so much keener than it is as a human, and you hear things far away. And that's why you keep on the alert, and you move like this, because your hearing enables you to keep yourself safe. And so you start to experience the world as the squirrel experiences, and then they communicate to you. And so you receive it. You may receive their images of how they have to go home because their kids are waiting and are hungry, and they have to go back quickly. And they live up in a tree, and they have to go back there. And you feel their little bit of anxiety, and you go, okay, thank you for communicating to me. I'll talk to you later. And you just have this natural conversation that isn't filtered by your thoughts, that doesn't your thoughts don't get in the way because they're not there anymore. You just have to come as a pure being. I know you understand this. I can feel it with you. You know how we're communicating. We're communicating to each other as pure beings.
Yeah.
As heart and soul, as big smiles.
Yeah. I absolutely.
That's exactly how it is with animals. So all the things that come up and get in the way, the self-doubt about your intuition, they aren't there anymore. You let them go. And these filters of, they could think this, they could that. No, all that is gone. Why would I impose that? Why would I impose that on you? Like if I'm talking to you, why would it go, well, maybe she's thinking this, or maybe she doesn't like me. On and on it goes. This is the human mind chatter that all of us are plagued with. So you learn to get quiet. Doesn't mean absolute quiet, but in my courses, I teach people to meditate with animals. Be with them. Sit quietly. Observe. Be present. And that's the way you get true communication. Not with formulas, not with, okay, now animals only communicate this way, or you can expect to get this. Don't expect anything. Let them surprise you. Because I find it's very enlightening every time I communicate with another being, no matter what kind of being they are, including human beings. It's always enlightening because when I'm being there with them, my own thoughts aren't in the way. My own preconceptions, my conclusions aren't there because I'm listening. And I'm going, what is this being about? What can I learn? So these are pointers, and I have them on my website. Pointers to help with interspecies telepathic communication. And these, I've already given you like about 4 of the pointers about respecting as fellow beings and being there and being open to surprises, being open to the unexpected, because you'll learn from animals things in your thoughts, in your socialization, in your belief systems that don't exist. Because those are what you've been socialized into. You're going to find that the animals will educate you on things that nobody has even discovered before. More and more scientists are being more open. So the research is getting more and more open about animals being quite similar to humans. It keeps busting through things that animal lovers have known forever, who respect animals and really feel and see them. But you see, there are many, many things people don't know because they have never communicated with animals. Once you start communicating, the animals teach you. Like they don't know a lot of things about whale migration. I've talked to a lot of whales. I found out all kinds of things. I'm sure they'll find out eventually with their scientific approach. But it takes so long that way. Why don't you just communicate and ask the being where they go and how they do it?
I love that. Way more direct. Way more direct. Oh my gosh. I love this, Penelope, so much. One of the things, because we had a conversation before earlier, and we talked about I'm obsessed with my kitty. I love her, and I was talking about wanting to communicate with her, and you'd suggested, why don't you do wisdom with Luna, right? Journal with her, and just being. And I'm saying this because actually, since you and I connected, I this is something, and I bet others too, like you when I was really little. I remember walking in the forest. I grew up in New England, and it felt magical. I could feel the trees, and I could feel it like friends. I didn't necessarily hear or see, but I felt like I was amongst family is the only way to explain it. And it's the conditioning that most of us have around, no, you can't do that, and getting in our thoughts and fear. I mean, you've mentioned the overthinking, the think you think, the doubting. I think fear is in there. And our conversation was really impactful. I wanted to share with you and for others with beloved animal pets, for friends. I love doing this. I just sit with her. And what you're saying, it's such a gift because it's been getting me out of, I meditate, right? But to really get me out of my head and feel her energy, my gosh, then my heart chakra, my heart energy is like huge because I can feel it with hers. And I just started writing. It was so cool. I've just been doing that. And it's just feeling her communication with me. That's probably the dominant first one, is that sentient, the feeling. And I wanted to say thank you and to share that this
Oh,
really has been working. And the other, you mentioned it, spiders, for those of us who've had fears, whether, common, the rats and the snakes and the spiders, we can talk about that. I've been doing that more. How do I, like, if I'm just being with this spider, all of a sudden I'm like, oh, okay. You're a divine being. I don't really want you to fall in my head or to touch me, but I can just say, I respect you. I want to communicate with you. I'd rather you not fall on me, please. I mean, I make that intention. And I know
mhm.
you've talked about intention. And it's really, I'm telling you, this was like a life fear. I had a little bit of a interaction when I was little with a friend with one. But aside from that, it's just been a funky fear. And this has started to shift because of what you and I were talking about. It's been really cool
Yeah.
seeing the spider in the bathroom and just being like, hey, you are the same divine stuff as me. Don't fall on me, please. I'll stay here. You stay there, but I'm going to just acknowledge you and respect you. You're beautiful, different, beautiful. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, that conditioning really creates tremendous fear and separation.
Yeah,
Where we
absolutely.
we we distance ourselves. I'll tell you my story about when I first met a scorpion, and because it's related to your spider thing and many people's fear of animals due to how they're conditioned. So I had moved to the woods up in Northern California in Inverness, and we had a wood pile in the basement next to the wood stove, and I was moving some wood, and I went, whoa! All in front of me was a scorpion. Now, I never expected to find a scorpion in the woods. I've never seen a scorpion in my life up to that point. And the only thing I knew about were from Western movies about you always kill rattlesnakes and scorpions and they're deadly and they're horrible. And, you know, and that's all I knew. So, right away, that huge conditioning of fear came up. And there's this little scorpion on the floor next to the log I just moved. And I'm shaking. And I went, okay. And I could see the scorpion was very afraid of me. And it was a little brown, small scorpion. And I said, I am scared of you, but I'm going to get a cup and I'm going to ask you to go in it so I can take you outside because I really don't want you in the house. I mean, this is not your habitat. So the scorpion's going, oh my gosh. And I'm going, okay. And I put the cup there, and the scorpion went inside, and I took it outside, and I said, and I told him all along the way, this is what I'm doing. I'm taking you in the cup. I'm not going to hurt you. You're going outside. I'm taking you through this door. Here we are. Now here's the woods. And I put the scorpion down, and I realized, because I was sweating, I had been shaking. I realized, oh my gosh, this conditioning, because I knew nothing about scorpions. And now I met this little sweet, loving being who showed me the real being, not the conditioned thinking, but the real being. And then, of course, I looked up the venomousness of scorpions and found out it's the desert scorpions who have the concentrated venom, and the ones that are in the woods are not, it's going to be more like a bee sting or something like that. So that helped to calm my mind down too, when you find out facts, etc. But I just had this beautiful connection. And that, of course, changed everything. Of course, now I live in the desert. I've seen a gazillion scorpions. I love them. They're absolutely beautiful. And we have lots of connections because I'm a gardener, and I'm always, if I pick up rocks, I'm always coming across them. And they're scared to death of humans, and they're so scared you're going to kill them. And I just, no, I'm just going to move this rock here, but you'll need to go under this other rock because I'm the gardener and I'm moving things. So, you get into a whole different situation with them. But I would say, just like with you, if there are spiders in my bedroom or whatever, I say, the only thing I ask, you can live, you can do your mission of in life, and help to keep, as far as on a physical level, help to change the insect level in the room, but also they have an energetic level. They have an energy that they're moving. I found this out from other spiders. How amazing they are. I have to tell you about my toilet vortex spider, and I got another story. You have to hear about the toilet.
Yes.
But
We want to hear about that.
So anyway, each time you connect, you actually really connect, then your fear goes. So I don't have those fears anymore. But I make a pact with them. Okay, if you're in my bedroom, do not crawl across my face. It does not work for me.
Right.
Or across my body. My skin, just goes, whoa, But I'll have to tell you about the toilet vortex spider. You'll like this one. So before I vacuumed the house, this was, I was living in California. And before I vacuumed the house, I would tell, because there were spiders around, and I would tell them, listen, guys, you need to get far away, mostly the floor I'm going to be vacuuming, but sometimes I'm going to get the little webs that are hanging down and fluttering around. So I want you to kind of vacate, and so that I don't suck you up into the vacuum, disappear. All right. So I did, they do. I give them time, and they do. I tell them well in advance of when I'm vacuuming. And then there was this one very big spider who I had seen before behind the toilet. And it gives you a little bit of a creepy feeling. You're sitting on the toilet, and there's a giant spider behind your, bare butt.
Yes.
And there you are. But the spider kept to herself, and I just went, but here I'm going to vacuum, and the spider did not move. And she's got a big web back there. And I said, listen, I'm going to have to take you outside because I don't want to have an accident here where you're going to get sucked up into the vacuum. So I scooped her up, big spider, scooped her up, took her outside. Okay, then I vacuumed and I cleaned up all the webs and everything and all the debris of insect bodies near the toilet, and do my cleaning thing. And then within a few hours, the spider was back in place again. And I went, how did the windows aren't open? My house is, very sealed. How did you get back? And the spider told me, said, I belong here. I have created an energy here that is helping you and your house and the entire area of the land. And then I could see it. It was like this vortex of energy that this spider was holding in my bathroom. What a privilege.
Wow.
And I hadn't seen it before, and I hadn't communicated with the spider before. And I saw the energy going out from the spider onto the land, and beautiful energy, and also the spider doing her job of keeping, insects who came in eliminated. And that was part of it. But the big part was the vortex. And she could easily come back in the house because she belonged there. She belonged there. Now, I'm not saying it was teleportation. Spiders probably can find their way through a little crack. She didn't show me exactly how she came in through the window or something. But really, I didn't find any cracks. And she was there. And I said, okay, fine. I'm not taking you out again. You do your job. Thank you very much. And I realized after that, it happened on other occasions that whenever I went, I had a beautiful bathroom and she was there. And whenever I went into that, I always recognized that there was a beautiful energy in there and that things would happen. If I had a headache and I just sat in there, it would help me to see the source of the stress of that's causing my headache, and different things happen. And I realized that there were many beings that were doing energy work and around the area, in the area. Of course they were helping me. I knew I had a lot of different helpers, but a lot of times you're aware of certain ones, but you're not aware of how many there are. So I wasn't aware of what the spider was doing, so it was very enlightening. And of course I was never afraid of her again. And she's obviously not gonna bite me while I'm on the toilet or something, these fears, human fears that you have. There she is doing her job. And she always, whenever I went there, she would scoot back a bit, because she knew, she knew that humans are a little bit afraid, creeped out by spiders. So anyway, continue talking to and communicating with spiders because they are ancient beings. The spiders, the reptiles, some of these beings, they have so much in the web, literally in the web of life and their webs. They have so much awareness that's going through time that they carry with them consciously, that humans have often forgotten. Or again, getting so thinky, getting wrapped up in their own little minds, they don't get that bigger picture that these other beings are holding and are always holding. It's just like the indigenous people. They've throughout their histories, they've held this ancient knowledge and been aware of it. And this is what these other beings are doing too. And we can too, because we're ancient beings too. And we just have to tap into that, into our own wisdom, our own wisdom with the land and with other beings. But all these other beings help us to recall, to remember. And really, telepathy is just a remembering, and connection with animals is it's a remembering. We were socialized out of it. We were conditioned to think that it's not, and we put barriers, and now we're trapped. Many people feel very trapped. It's a horrible thing to feel you're not connected to the rest of the world, the rest of the earth, the billions, trillions of beings on this planet of all different shapes, sizes, forms, to feel that you don't have a connection with them. Wow. That's sad. That's really sad. So when people wake up to this, they get happier. And that's the whole point. You get happier when you recover more of who you are. And that's a lost piece of people. It's a big piece that's lost.
I think this aspect of finding the joy, really, what do we crave? I know you know this, and the work I've done, we crave connection and heart, connectedness, and to expand it beyond just our brothers and sisters in human form to, I think of it as soul family. Like literally, I have to say, I allowed myself to start doing this more when I walk. I really feel like I feel the trees. I do. I feel they're waving to me, their energy, the deer. I was at, the pool the other day. I saw this little bug. I was with my husband. I'm like, oh my God, this little guy is so cute. I could feel his like cuteness. Like he was just like looking for, and I was like, don't go this way. You're going to go into a bad situation because you're going to get in the pool. And it just turned. I don't know if it really got me or not, but it was very, it's just, there was a cuteness and the happiness effect,
Yeah.
the joy is true. I want to ask you two things, Penelope, both about animals as signs with loved ones that have passed on. Sometimes we hear about, you know, seeing a hawk many, many times or a bird and feeling like that's, you know, a deceased parent or family. And how do animals play with our, you know, I'd say souls that are not in bodies anymore, and then also communicating with beloved animals that are not in physical form. So would love to
Yeah.
talk about those two
Well,
aspects.
first, when you're not in the physical realm anymore, you realize everything is connected. You're connected with everybody. Of course, you're totally telepathic too. So when you want to connect with your former family or your loved ones on earth, often they can't listen to you. They don't know how. They don't know how to tune in. So you give signs. And so there'll be a hawk passing over and you ask, can you move over my loved one who is now in the garden and let her know I am here? And so the hawk goes psh, down and you look up and you go, I know that's my father who just recently died. I just know it. Well, yeah. And they're connected. You know, it's what people call a sign, but you see, it's born out of connection. So there'll be other ways that beloveds will try to contact you through dreams, but through animals is a good way, through the trees, through the wind. You know, you'll be there and there'll be only one branch waving in the wind where you're sitting. Nothing else is moving but the one branch. So the wind is blowing that one branch to let you know that your father or your mother or your husband is there. And you go, is that you? And then you connect. And if you continue the conversation, then you have a real, genuine conversation with your beloved who has gone on. And so the animals will communicate that way too when they go on. They love you and they're looking after you and they want you to be happy. And they want you to know how happy they are. You know, over and over again, animals who have gone on, they tell you what a wonderful life they had. And people go, well, it couldn't have been wonderful. They were sick and I didn't know what to do. And I didn't take them to the vet soon enough. And it's all my fault and blah, 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 you know, and you're sitting in all this blame and guilt and the animal's going, wow, we had such a good time together. We had so much love. It was such a fulfillment to be with you. So when you hear that, when you open to that instead of the circular mind loops of blame, then you can be uplifted. I mean, we all have to go through our grief and our loss. You know, when we perceive a separation, it's a loss. And at the same time, when you reconnect and you realize the dimensions aren't really separate, only in our minds are they separate. When you start to realize your dog is right there, your father is right there, you're all connected and you can communicate anytime. Anytime. Just think of them and they're there because they're outside of time and space. So they don't have, you know, appointments to keep and, you know, and they can be in more the one place at the same time. You know, there's no confusion about bodies and spaces and how we're here and the illusion of what we can do and what we can't do. So it's pretty unlimited. And yes, I know there's still the feeling you want to hug their little furry body or you want to kiss your husband again and all that. But, you know, we go on and forms change. Everybody knows, although they don't want to believe it, but that life changes and that these bodies are going to disappear. You know, they're going to go back to the earth. And it's the way it is. And we have our human programming. and we have our way of feeling. And I feel that you can take a lot of the sting out of that self-recrimination or the loops of, I could have done better. When you connect with them and you realize they're smiling at you, they're going, I love you so much and I'm taking care of you. I mean, I have so many helpers who have gone on so many of many forms. Of course, I've had many animals in my life, so I've got a gazillion of them. And then, many friends. You get at this age and you have many friends who have gone on. And, I keep in touch with them. All I have to do is think of them. They're right there. We're having a nice conversation. I ask them about things. It's nice. And so it eases it. I'm not saying you don't have to go through the loss because, like with me, even though Pepito, my little dog who died last year, and he reincarnated, he's Pico now, and he's with me right now. When I look at the pictures of Pepito, and I just happened to come across a little video, I get a pang and I go, yeah. I have to let go of that because now it's a new form and it's wonderful and it's absolutely incredible. And at the same time, our human limitation or the way it is as a human is that, there's the dog I used to have. Well, yeah. And you just, I feel for me, I just let go of those kind of thinking because if you start going down that path, you go into separation and loss. It doesn't do you any good. I just release any of those longings or, I just feel them. I don't deny them. I go, yep, there's a little bit of something that came up there. Okay. And I loved him and I love him now. And then I get into the present again. I'm back with my genuine feelings and also to know that there's a progression in the physical. There's always progressions. There's always changes. And you go with it. The next thing, which is the present moment, has its own wonder. And it's going to be the past, and we can right now start mourning it if we want to, or we can enjoy it. And regard those past moments, I just enjoy them. I just go, wow, I remember that when we walked on the beach together, and we're just about to go on a trip and walk on the same beach again, only he's going to have a different body. I have the same body, but older, but he has a different body. I mean, the miracle of it, the miracle of this change. And so what I would say to people is don't deny your connection. Just feel it. Just look at me and feel what it is, because I feel it all the time. And if the mind gets in the way, I just say, mind, thank you very much. Heart and soul. Mind is useful when you're in control and you're using it to create some writing or to create your garden or to create anything. Mind is a wonderful thing. It's very creative. But mind on automatic, the automatic mind that just goes boom, 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 that puts these thoughts on a loop is not very nice. That's why I sort of go with meditation as I like to do sort of more walking and living meditation. I don't spend a lot of time just sitting for hours in a chair. That's not my kind of meditation is being present here in anything, whatever's happening, and being with the animals and walking around and observing, opening to all the senses and to what is. And that really handles it all. You're present and your mind is not in the middle of it. If your mind gets in the middle of it, you can feel yourself checking out from the environment. Suddenly you're not aware of the environment anymore. I mean, I do that. I'm just like other human beings. I wander in my mind and suddenly I realize I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm walking around on automatic. Sometimes I'll even be doing my yoga and I went, wait a minute. I wasn't even conscious during that whole pose and holding my legs up in the air. I wasn't even conscious of it because I was in my thoughts. Amazing during yoga. So I go back and I do it again. I go, okay, this time I'm going to be here while I'm doing it. Because your mind just goes, it's natural to us all. But I would say that when you're with the animals and the trees and the mountains, I mean, that's why it's so beautiful going out in nature. It's more easy to get into that space of just that whole heart and soul connection. And again, you can be there with your mind too, but the real mind, the mind that observes and thinks in a way that's positive. So you go, wow, I never noticed that my tortoise liked this before. That's a genuine thought. That's a present thought, not an automatic thing about, gee, I'm wondering, is she hurting now? Do you see how the change from the
Absolutely.
openness?
Anxiety and fear. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So, and I
Yeah.
tell people, and this is part of the training, is when you're wanting to communicate, you open. So bring your arms back, bring your chest back, bring your body back. When you feel yourself going like this, that's when you're getting into your mind. People start to go like this, their eyes wrinkle up, they crunch their bodies, they go forward. They look at their animal and go, what are you thinking? Well, you're blocked right there. All that tension. Nothing can come through all that tension. So you got to go like this. I'm open to feel what you feel right now. And whoop, your dog, cat has some space now. And like I told you, just write it down. Then write down what you got. I felt my cat this way. And I got that she understands this. And suddenly I got a communication. Oh, my cat is wanting me to know. And you write it down. And then you start to chart your progress. And you start to chart the difference between your own anxiety, thoughts, fears, and this open-hearted, real communication. And it will surprise you. I get surprised. I've done thousands of consultations. I've communicated with thousands and thousands, who knows, millions of beings. I don't know how many. And I still get surprised. I go, wow, listen to this. I mean, people will ask me, well, how can you be surprised? You've been doing this for so many years. I said, well, yeah, but here's another being. Here's another experience. Here's something to learn from. This is the attitude that you need to have all the time if you're going to get the real thing. If you're just going to dispense advice, then that's not telepathic communication. If you're just going to go, oh, well, I think what's best for your dog is blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's nothing to do with anything. That's just things you learned. Okay, that may be helpful later. Maybe it's part of what will help this dog, but you won't know till you communicate with the dog and the person and find out how it works in their lives.
Mm.
So it's a beautiful thing. I know you totally grok it. You get it.
Oh, I love this. And what I love too, Penelope, is it's an invitation for every one of us to go drop in the heart, to drop into our knowing, to drop into you said, remembering a beingness. I have a degree in coaching. I teach people how to listen, like really listen to somebody, because most of us we don't get listened to. And what I'm hearing is we're doing this in a full sensing beyond the five senses way with animals too. And why not? And with those that have passed on. And it's like listening plus, it's like a full body listening. I love this. I love the implications. The more of us that do this, the more that
Yeah.
we're in tune and present. I will share, I know you have a beautiful course with the Shift Network. You have your own work as well. I'll have all of the links, and you have books. You are just living, and I have to say, you are living this work so beautifully. You just shine. You really do. You are a living testament to the joy of being connected at this level. Before we close, I'm curious if there is a general message or the message you've been getting from your, the animal friends you've been connecting with that might be helpful for all of us to hear for what's happening in the world right now. Maybe some words of wisdom, or if not words, sharing of messages that would be helpful for someone tuning in.
Yeah. what I keep getting is, and this isn't coming from a particular individual, it's like coming from all beings, like the communion of all beings, is give yourself some space. Just give yourself space. And when I feel that, I can see that the things that people worry about, the things that are in the news or the worries about this or that, they're so tiny. They're just like little micro flecks. And you just give yourself space and they all kind of dissolve. They have plenty of room, but you're in this place of great space where you can live, where you go, you know what's important right now? This, not the worry, not the grabbing on, not the perfectionism, not the this, not the that we've accepted as part of our beliefs or whatever. Even as you talk about that, it all comes in, it all cramps down, and I can feel them saying, "Give yourself some space." And then I immediately am drawn to go outside, and just feel the space. Feel the sky, feel the earth, feel the trees, feel all these beings who are in the space. Yeah. Yeah. And in that space is everything. And we don't even have to name it. We don't have to go, is it love? Is it this? Is it that? It's just is. We just have room. We have room to be who we are.
Beautiful. Beautiful. That alone, right? The room to be who we are, who our soul wants us to be, that alone can ease so much worry and concern and really allow one to drop in the heart. It's beautiful. Yeah. Thank you so much. This has been such a joy. I'm just feeling called, so they're called heart flares. I never want the conversation to end with you. I'm always like, wait, there's one more thing. So I'm just going to ask you, because we talked about what the animals want us to know. Is there heart flare like a message, maybe something I didn't ask you, or just something coming through you that you would like to share with each and every one of our listeners near and far?
Well, I'm finding our conversation, and as you told the listeners earlier, the earlier recording, something went wrong with it, so we had to redo it, and we had so much fun in the first recording. And I'm going, now I see why this was repeated again. We put out a lot of beautiful energy to the universe in our last recording, even though it didn't get out as a recording. We put out, and it was meant to happen again because, boy, this is really fun. And I feel like the sharing with other beings, whether human beings or other species or trees or the sky, this sharing, just when you have that kind of fun, you're putting out the best of yourself to the universe. It's just the best. The You-est.
There you go. Aw, I love that. Yes. I love that. That's right. You're You-est You. And really, thank you. The joy, the fun. I feel the same. And I'm like, wow, I am lit up again. This is so fun. I'm so glad. I hope this one keeps, because I want to share this with everyone. But that's our natural medicine. That's it right there, and thank you for what you just said and that reminder. And I'm actually glad the last one didn't record fully, because I thought, I loved talking to her the first time. So, and what you just said. So I thank you for just, the courage it took to keep communicating with animals in a time. I think back, I wasn't, well, when I was here 50 years ago, I was tiny, tiny babies. So I was not, not in the world, so to speak, perhaps the way you were, where there wasn't as much awakening and now things have shifted and are shifting. I think it takes incredible courage to really follow where your heart and soul wanted to go. And now today, you have this beautiful wisdom and can remind us, remind and like hold up the light to say, hey, we can all do this, but you got to get out of your head and you got to be present and be. And so thank you. It's so obvious you're living this. And I appreciate your presence and your light, Penelope, and what you are teaching and bringing to the world. It's needed and so powerful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm just going to say to you, my beloved listener, our beloved listener, thank you. We're so happy you're here. You're still here, and hoping that you got so much, both what you took in, what you're learning, but also what you felt. What did you feel? And that you can practice this with your beloved animal friends, pets, the animals around you, the beings around you, the plants, all of it. And definitely check out Penelope's beautiful books and courses. We'll have all of that in the description and YouTube and show notes. And Penelope, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, beautiful soul. It's Julie here. Have you been craving greater stillness, deeper connection, higher guidance? Well, if so, I have created something just for you. It is called the Meditation Portal, and it is a sacred weekly experience where you'll be getting weekly new channeled meditations that are going to help you to realign, to reconnect, and to rise. They are just for you. And it is more than just a meditation. These are energetic transmissions. These are activations. They're going to help you connect to your You-est You. It's only $22 a month. You can join or cancel anytime. So head over to juliereisler.com/meditation portal to step in.